think I may have to move this off the stand a little bit. A little taller than Dennis, if you hadn't already noticed. First of all, I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. It's amazing to see each of you here, and to really feel the love and support of the church. As I step out in faith, and it's a scary proposition. It's a lot of people mention to me that it's this grand adventure, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's true, but adventures can be pretty scary sometimes. And knowing that I have the support of all of you here, and the prayers and the love, as Dennis mentioned, is really encouraging. So I'm really thankful to see all of you here. Just to give you a sense of where I'm at and the process that I've been going through as I've been responding to God's call. This year has been interesting for me. As I was initially stepping out in faith, my intention was to serve as part of the ministry of Steve and Carol Thompson, who have visited here many times. Steve is the brother Dan Thompson, member of our church, and they have been serving for many years in Ecuador. And I have participated a number of times, actually now 8 times I've been down to Ecuador, either as part of teams or long-term as an intern, or as for a year as well. I was there. So really connected with that ministry. But Steve met with me in May, and he really encouraged me to seek out my own area of service, which came to me initially as a shock. I thought we were all on the same page, and this is where things were going, and God had a different plan. So he invited me to come down this summer, and I was there from June until early August. And I served alongside them in their camp ministry while also looking for my own place of service. And so met with several pastors along the way, really connected with one, the Baptist Church of Huachichico, which is part of Ambato, Ecuador. And we started exploring the idea of teaching English out of the church, and using that as a way to attract people to the church. First of all, to preach the gospel. As people sign up to be part of the course, we would share the gospel with them, and then have young people, maybe children, adults, as we grow and expand, mainly targeting young people, but we may grow as the Lord leads. But we kind of get them in the door and get them connected with the church as well, because they will be able to see the leadership of the local church there in their community and build a relationship with them. And so then that when they receive Jesus Christ, there's a local church there waiting to grow them, disciple them, because many times there's an emphasis on conversion, getting people to make a decision for Jesus Christ, which is obviously the most vital, important step in the life of a Christian. But many times these new baby Christians are then left out to try to figure things out on their own, and they don't have a family, a body of believers that they can connect to and then grow and be discipled. And so I see it as vital to connect these new Christians to a body of believers that can do life with them, basically, to disciple them, to help them grow in their faith, so that they then can also be missionaries to their little community, their local community, or wherever life takes them. So that is kind of where God has led, and where I'm now pointed towards, is living in Ambato and working with this church, and then expanding outward, hopefully, as there's a lot of demand for English language instruction, so there's a lot of interest because part of the challenge in Ecuador is that it's kind of like second language instruction in a lot of smaller areas, smaller communities here, where teachers are kind of thrown in the classroom that may not know the language, and so there's students that are kind of floating through and they don't have the English language skill that they need, and so then they go and look for work, and they can say they've taken classes in English, but if they don't have that skill, it may not open up opportunities. And so there's a lot of young people that make it through high school, sometimes even make it through college, and they don't have a strong grasp of English that would really give them an advantage. So that is a big appeal to them. And so I want to present that opportunity, meet a need of theirs, while also using that to then entice them to hear the gospel, their greatest need. So as a result of this, it kind of puts me a little bit more out on my own a little bit. I initially was going to be working as part of staff with Steve and Carol, and a lot of my needs would be met as a result. Just by working with them. There's housing there at the camp, and travel with them to participate in ministry. But now, because I will be on my own, a lot of those needs are now my responsibility. So it makes things exciting, where I can kind of guide ministry and really form the direction and really listen to what God has to say and the way things should go. But it also presents a big challenge as well, because those responsibilities are now fall on my shoulders. So that's why we have this time, is not only to encourage you with, stories of God's faithfulness, and He has been faithful through all of this. There are several times where I question my call. I question, well, is this really worth it? I'm putting myself through all this. Why? And God has been extremely faithful to me. He's put people in my path at the right time and the right place to encourage me and to keep me to keep pushing, keep fighting for it. And that's helped me to grow. But now I turn to God's church, the capital C church, as I like to call it, to help support me financially as well, and to help to meet the needs, not only for myself, but so that we can then reach a nation that's really hungry to hear the gospel. It's incredible to see when they're exposed to the gospel for the first time. It's just like they're just on fire, and they love it. They connect with it in a real way in Ecuador, and so I want to be part of that connecting process. But I not only see serving as just me out on an island or out in Ecuador and I'm just doing my own thing. I really do see myself as serving in Ecuador, but also serving the church here and serving people that are praying for me and supporting me financially. And so that's why I do want to stay in contact and stay connected with all of you here, because I view that as hugely important, because I think sometimes we get caught up in our own life. There's lots of pressures, lots of things weighing us down, whether that's within our own family, our own lives, or things outside pushing in on us. And sometimes we need a reminder of what God can do, and of what God is doing, that God is alive, God is moving, God is working in this world, and that it's not all darkness and despair, and that there's a God of hope, and that He's our God, and He lives in each one of us. And that God is in me as I go, which is what is allowing me to stand here in front of you and say these things. Because if it wasn't, I would have left this a long time ago, because it was, because it's like painting a bullseye on your back when you're stepping forward and saying, I want to serve the Lord. And there's been a lot of attack with that, but that's why it's so encouraging to see everyone here and to feel the love and encouragement from each of you. So that's it from me. That's where God's leading, and just thank you so much again for coming out. God bless.